We're seeing a real turning point now, aren't we? This idea that businesses can just operate without thinking hard about their environmental impact. Well, it feels pretty outdated.
Hmm.
It's not just checking a box anymore. It feels more like, future-proofing real responsibility, especially in big sectors like agriculture.
Absolutely.
So today we're digging into this really fascinating story. It's about one specific company, a mid-sized agricultural equipment maker that decided to, well, get serious about waste.
Yeah, really
So
serious.
they didn't just tinker around the edges. They fundamentally shifted their whole system to a circular supply chain.
Exactly. And we've got a good look at how they did it, the challenges, the specific strategies they used,
Mm.
and really crucially, the results they actually saw.
Right.
So our mission here in this deep dive is to get a handle on the nuts and bolts of that change. What levers did they pull? What can you maybe learn from what they went through?
And we're basing this on.
We've got a pretty comprehensive case study that lays out their whole process.
Okay, great. So before this big circular shift, they were working on a pretty standard linear model, right? That old take, make, dispose way of doing things.
That's the one.
And that model usually comes with its own set of problems, doesn't it?
Oh, definitely. The case study makes the initial pain points really clear. They were grappling with just a lot of waste coming off their production lines,
Right.
and the recycling infrastructure that was available, it just wasn't up to handling the kind or amount of materials they were dealing with.
Right.
And then at the same time, they were hearing it more and more from their customers, farmers, people often deeply connected to the land, asking for more sustainable products.
Yeah, that's not surprising. I
Yeah.
mean, farmers see environmental changes right up close. They've got a real stake in things being sustainable.
Precisely. And for the manufacturer, they were also just heavily reliant on um, virgin raw materials,
Ah,
brand new steel, new plastics.
constantly drawing on fresh resources.
Exactly. Which adds up, resource-wise and cost-wise. Their environmental footprint was getting bigger, and then there was the whole end-of-life problem. What do you do with this big machinery when it's done? Landfills were becoming a real headache, logistically and, well, environmentally.
So, okay, facing all that waste, customer pressure, resource costs, disposal issues, they make this pretty bold move towards the circular economy idea. Can you give us the big picture? What did that overall strategy look like?
Well, at its core, the strategy was really about breaking free from that straight line, take, make, dispose, and creating more of a loop.
Closing the loop.
Yeah, keeping resources in use for as long as possible, getting the most value out of them while they're in use, and then critically recovering and regenerating the materials and products at the end of each life cycle. It
Hmm.
wasn't like one single fix. It was definitely a multi-pronged approach, touched almost everything they did.
And a really fundamental part of that was changing the actual stuff they used to build the equipment, wasn't it? Not just, making the same machines with slightly greener paint.
Exactly right. They made a very conscious choice to integrate recycled and bio-based materials into their manufacturing.
How'd they manage that?
It meant actively finding and partnering with suppliers who specialized in things like recycled metal steel that had already been used somewhere else, or bio-based polymers, plastics made from plants, and even some newer renewable composite materials.
Okay, so tapping into resources that weren't freshly mined or made. Now, the big question that jumps to my mind is quality. I mean, this is heavy agricultural machinery. Tractors, combines, they take a beating out there.
That's a super important point, and the case study really stresses this. Maintaining product integrity, the performance, that was completely non-negotiable for them.
Had to be.
So they invested quite a bit in rigorous materials testing. They had to make sure these more sustainable components met all the tough industry standards, strength, weather resistance, just plain old longevity. The goal was cutting reliance on virgin materials without sacrificing the reliability their customers needed.
Makes sense.
And, a big side benefit was that this shift directly helped cut their carbon emissions and overall resource use.
Yeah, reusing materials almost always has a lower footprint than starting from scratch.
Yeah.
Okay, so materials were key. What else did this circular transformation involve?
Another really interesting piece was adopting a product as a service business model. This changes the whole relationship with the customer, really.
How so?
Instead of just selling a machine outright, they started offering leasing options and refurbishment programs.
Okay. So a farmer could lease equipment, use it for a while, and then return it. What's the upside there for both sides?
Well, for the farmer, it means access to good quality, often newer equipment without that massive upfront cost of buying it.
Lower barrier to entry.
Exactly. And they can upgrade more easily as their needs change. It can also help with financial planning. For the company, though, it builds a longer relationship, ensures the gear comes back to them eventually, cuts down on end-of-life waste, and importantly, creates a steady, recurring revenue stream from the leases.
That's smart.
And the case study actually notes an interesting side effect.
Right.
Having refurbished equipment available made it more affordable for smaller farms to get started, so it actually broadened their customer base.
A real win-win there.
Mhm.
So the equipment comes back. What then? That sort of leads into the next crucial step, right? Managing those returned products.
Precisely. They had to build out a whole reverse logistics network, basically the system for getting those used machines back efficiently.
Right.
And they set up specialized facilities just for disassembly and material recovery. The main goal there is to carefully take the return machines apart and salvage any components that are still perfectly good.
So mining their old machines for parts to use in new ones.
You got it. Reuse components where possible. And for the stuff that can't be directly reused, they have a system to separate out the different materials, metals, plastics, electronics,
Yeah.
so they can go to the right specialized recycling centers.
What about the bits that just can't be recycled?
For that small fraction, they've focused on finding the most environmentally sound disposal methods possible. The whole aim is to really tighten that material loop, make sure as little as possible just ends up as trash.
That sounds like a pretty significant logistical challenge. Transport, the special facilities, the know-how for disassembly and sorting.
Oh, it definitely requires real investment up front.
Yeah.
And careful planning, no doubt about it. But the long-term benefits, lower material costs, less waste disposal expense, a more resilient supply chain, those can be really significant payoffs.
Okay, so we've got materials, product as a service, end-of-life management. Were there other key strategies in this circular shift?
Yes, another really forward-thinking element was bringing digital tech into the mix. They started putting IoT-enabled sensors, small connected devices, right into their machinery.
Oh, interesting. Like the machines reporting back.
Kind of, yeah. These sensors gather real-time data, how the equipment's being used, how it's performing, any early signs of wear and tear or potential problems.
Okay, so you get this constant stream of data from the field. What do they do with it?
They feed it into what's called predictive analytics. They look for patterns in the data that can actually forecast when a part might fail or when maintenance is likely needed.
Ah, so they can schedule maintenance before something breaks down.
Exactly. Address potential issues proactively.
That sounds like a huge plus for the farmers, too. Less downtime during crucial planting or harvest times.
Absolutely. Minimizing unexpected breakdowns saves customers a lot of time and money. But from the sustainability angle, it also helps extend the product's lifespan by making sure it gets timely upkeep. Less need for early, resource-heavy repairs or replacements. It's a clear win-win.
Makes perfect sense. And I imagine a change this big, it wouldn't work without getting everyone involved, right? Inside the company and outside.
You're absolutely right. That was crucial. They put comprehensive training programs in place for their own employees, teaching the basics of the circular economy, sustainability, best practices in their jobs, effective waste management.
Empowering the workforce.
Yeah, the goal was to get everyone thinking about eco-friendly processes and looking for ways to improve. And they also really engaged actively with their stakeholders, suppliers, distributors, customers, promoting these circular ideas all along the value chain. You really need that culture of sustainability to make it stick long term.
It really does sound like a holistic, very thought-through approach.
Hmm.
Okay, so the big question. After putting all this in place, what were the results? Did it actually deliver?
The case study shows some pretty compelling outcomes, yeah.
Okay.
Let's talk waste first. Over 3 years, they managed a 45% reduction in waste going to landfill.
Wow, 45%. That's substantial.
It really is. And that was directly down to better recycling and recovering those usable components. Giving materials a second life just significantly cut their environmental footprint and made them way more resource efficient.
Okay, impressive on the waste front. What about the financials? Did going circular actually help their bottom line?
It certainly did. That move to leasing and refurbishment, it led to a 20% increase in their recurring revenue within just 2 years.
20% increase, okay.
Yeah, that steady income from leases and selling refurbished gear gave them more financial stability. Plus, like we mentioned, offering those more affordable refurbished machines opened up a whole new market segment for them. So, yeah, it wasn't just good for the planet, it was definitely good for business too.
And beyond waste and revenue, What about the broader sustainability picture? Energy, water, emissions.
They saw some really significant gains there too.
Yeah.
Manufacturing energy use dropped by 35%. Water usage went down by 50%.
50%. Wow.
Huge drop. These numbers really show the efficiency benefits of managing materials better and optimizing their processes. And they also saw a clear decrease in their production-related carbon emissions. All of this really boosted their sustainability creds, made them more attractive to customers and investors who care about that stuff.
So it seems like the benefits went beyond just the numbers on a spreadsheet, too. The case study mentioned other achievements.
Exactly. I mean, one big one was just overall better resource efficiency leading to real cost savings. Using materials smarter, cutting waste, needing fewer expensive virgin resources, it streamlined their whole operation and cut production costs.
Which helps profitability.
Right. And it definitely had that ripple effect on customer perception you mentioned earlier.
How so?
They saw improved customer satisfaction. Customers increasingly want sustainable options, and that leasing model was apparently quite popular. This helped them gain market share, build loyalty, and really stand out from competitors. It created a positive brand image that attracted new business and even new partnerships. They sort of carved out a niche as a sustainability leader in their field.
And it sounds like this success wasn't just a one-off for this particular product line. The case study suggested it could be scaled.
Yeah, that's a key point. Because they proved it worked well with this line of agricultural equipment, it gave them a solid blueprint. They're now looking at how to apply these same circular principles to their other products, maybe even expand into new markets with this model. It really shows that this approach can be scaled and has potential in lots of different industrial areas.
This has been incredibly insightful. So thinking about you, listening to this,
Hmm.
what are the main takeaways here? What lessons from this company's journey could maybe apply in your own world?
Yeah, there are some really important points, I think. First, that moving towards circular strategies isn't just an environmental thing. It can genuinely drive business benefits like cost savings and making you more competitive.
Right.
Second, thinking about disassembly and recycling right from the design stage, that's critical if you want to extend product life and cut waste later on.
Design for circularity.
Exactly. Third, remanufacturing and refurbishment. They're not just green activities. They can create real financial value and meet different customer needs. Fourth, that product as a service idea. It's a powerful way to shift consumption patterns and generate reliable income.
Mm-hmm.
Fifth, you really need collaboration. Working with suppliers, customers, everyone in the chain is essential for making circularity work. Sixth, technology like the IoT sensors and data analytics they use can be a massive help in boosting efficiency and product life.
Okay.
And finally, maybe the biggest one, this kind of shift takes real long-term commitment. It's about continuous innovation, not a one-time fix. But this case study really shows it's possible, right? Implementing circular ideas in a tough industry like machinery manufacturing. It's not just theory. It's a practical, potentially very rewarding way to cut waste, use resources better, and grow sustainably.
So hearing about the success this agricultural equipment maker had, it really makes you think, doesn't it? What could applying circular economy principles look like in your industry, or maybe even just in your daily routines? What small changes, maybe things you haven't considered, could actually lead to a significant positive impact down the line? Definitely something powerful to chew on.